this is really the best conference I have attended this year. Decentralization enthusiasts, blockchain, blockchain people, we could say, from all over the world, as well as first-class institutions, top traders, and of course various activities. It was really a great experience. I'm even looking for, next year Bitcoin conference. That's great. Let's start today's Bitcoin conference. So I'm here with John Perkins. I usually do my recaps after, the talks on camera for my vlog, but I could do that with you, so let's do it together. Amazing speech, by the way, and the audience was really engaged with that, so it was really great. I have three things that impacted me the most in your speech. The first one was about politics. So you told us about this concept that climate change was from Democrats, it was politicized, and now Bitcoin is politicized. But we are getting more and more bipartisan, bills passed. I was talking with some people from Metaplanet, and they said, even if in a few years, the minority party takes over, it would not change a thing. What do you think about that? Do you think that there is still an inside war in American politics?
You're talking specifically for Bitcoin now, or
yes.
Yeah, I think it's in a dangerous situation now where it's being perceived by many liberals, many Democrats as a Republican issue. And, there's a certain amount of truth there because Biden stood in the way of Bitcoin and crypto, and Trump has supported it. But the fear is that Trump and his families, particularly his sons, are making a whole lot of money off it. And at a conference like this, we had J.D. Vance speak, we had the two Trump sons speak. I haven't seen any Democratic senators or politicians speak here. I think it's really important, and I think we made that point clear at the talk I gave, that this conference ought to invite one of those 16 Democratic senators who voted in favor of the Genius Act to come and speak. And I think the same thing should be true of environmental conferences that are primarily Democrats. They need to invite more Republicans. This country is so divided. And if we want to be a world leader in Bitcoin or any crypto and AI, we need to come together. We need to be perceived not as a divided country, but as a country where we're working together to make the world a more prosperous place.
Okay, that's a good take. And so you think that maybe in 4 years or in 3 years, when the minority party takes over, it could break everything that's being built right now?
Well, let's hope not. As J.D. Vance said yesterday in the speech he gave, he said that he hopes that the Republicans will stay in power for a long time. But we have to recognize the reality of politics, and that is it's unpredictable. And so he said, we've got to bring the Democrats in. We've got to write rules now that will stick and that the Democrats won't overrule. So I think it's, in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or whatever, I think it's very, very important that the Republicans embrace the Democrats more on some of those issues, and the Democrats embrace the Republicans more. And let's not have this divide. Let's do what the Constitution supposedly set us up to do, which is compromise.
Okay. Speaking of the Trump family acquiring a lot of Bitcoins and ETH and other altcoins, they are taking, a large quantity, or Michael Saylor, or the US government that will take, their aim is to take 5%. 5% is a lot. It can have a lot of impact. Be it a government, or be it like a family, like the Trump family, be it like individuals. And you were right when you say that if they sell, they could impact the price. It's still decentralized. Bitcoin is proof of work, but they can have a big impact and impact the lives of a lot of people. What can we do about that? So we talked about, and yesterday we talked about that too, everyone buying, dispersing, decentralizing. What else could we do? What can we do against oligarchies in general? This one is a hard one.
It's a very hard one because human history is one of people and governments accumulating lots of power, and often that's financial power and also maybe military power, and that's how empires are built. Yeah. And it seems as though there's something in our brains affects certain people who are known as hoarders. And probably a lot of your audience that knows somebody who's a hoarder in their house. They got all this stuff in their house. But that also happens from a financial standpoint. And then the hoarders of money tend to become very powerful. And I think one of the things we could do is change the laws in the United States. For example, Citizens United, that gives big donors and corporations the power to finance political campaigns. That's a terrible law, and it opens the door for corruption. But it's legalized. It's not corruption because it's legal. Would be recognized as corruption in any other country that I know of, any other of the more highly developed countries. But we've written it into law that certain individuals, certain corporations can have a lot more than one vote because they control so much money that goes into campaigns. So that would be one thing we could do, is change some of those laws. I think another thing is, as you mentioned and as I mentioned earlier, if everybody gets involved in these processes, whether it's looking at climate change or looking at owning Bitcoin, that helps to democratize things. But ultimately, it's up to us, the people, to implement laws and to insist that our representatives implement laws that prevent us from becoming a monarchy, a dictatorship. And that can certainly happen here. I've been in many countries. In fact, I've sometimes been behind coups. And some of them are what's known as auto coups. I just came from Guatemala a couple of weeks ago. And Guatemala, not so long ago, had what's called an auto coup, which is when a democratically elected president, legitimately elected president, then decides he's not going to give up his office. And I think we have to be very, very careful that we don't allow that to happen in this country, regardless of who the president is, that we put systems in control that don't allow that to happen.
Maybe we could end that with a question more light-hearted, You have Bitcoin, I have Bitcoin. Here at this conference, a lot of people are saying, okay, now it's at 100K for one Bitcoin. When will it get to 1 million? That's a question like everyone is asking. Some are saying like in 2 years, in 5 years. I was asking this question in New Zealand a few days ago too. It's really interesting. What's your take on that? Where do you think we are going? Is it still going to be as fast as it is now, in your opinion? Just answer how you want.
I have no idea. I'm a neophyte in all of this. I'm being totally honest. I could take a wild guess, but if that's all it would be, and it's not, I don't like to do that. I don't like to speculate. I like to talk about things I understand and know about, and I'm just beginning to understand Bitcoin. It's a very complex subject. It's a very complex technology? It's not really a currency, I don't think. It's a commodity. What is it? I don't even know, and I'm learning, I'm understanding. What I do know is that it's a tool, and it's here. And let's figure out how we're going to use it to make the world a place that we're going to want, that our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to want to live in. Let's use Bitcoin to create that world. How do we do that? We've talked about several different ideas and possibilities as to how to do that. That's what we really have to explore, though.
I think I agree with you on this point, is that we should spend less time on speculation and more time on education, and especially for the kids. It's really important.
Yeah, I agree. Education. Yeah, I just don't like speculation, because what does it accomplish? These days you turn on the radio, you read op-ed pages, and everybody's speculating about everything. And what's the point? It's a waste of time. So we really don't know.
Let's build, not speculate. Okay, thank you. The conference finally ended, and the last 3 talks were back-to-back, so I'll debrief them together quickly, and then I will give you my final thoughts. But yeah, it was quite crazy. First, we had a talk from Jack Mallers from Strike.
Have contributed to. I'm very proud of every one of us for getting this asset class to where we are right now, here in this moment, okay?
He tried to sell us his projects, like the ones we had this morning. Have been sold again. But I have to say, he is an excellent seller, and yeah, I'm really interested. Because the product is very good, we should get deeper in the Bitcoin lending narrative in the future. DeFi for Bitcoin is really a great topic. Then, yeah, we will talk about Strike maybe later again, because after that we had Sailor with his 21 ways to wealth.
But my presentation today is directed at the 8 billion people on the planet. It's the 21 ways to wealth for every individual, every family, every small business, every entrepreneur.
I don't have a lot to say about it. we should just sit together and analyze the whole speech. Everything was interesting. He basically gave us the keys, the strategies, all the steps, all the ways. But how many of us will take action? That's what I'm wondering now. I don't know, but those who will do great in the future, I'm sure. And then I want to spend a little bit more time for the last one, because yeah, I'm getting emotional, but it was Ross Ulbricht for the grand finale.
Bitcoin was open to everyone, right? That's what I love so much about it. It was like it leveled the playing field. When the idea of Bitcoin really clicked for me, I got so excited. I thought, with Bitcoin, I can try to do something that actually makes a difference.
Just a few months ago, I was trapped behind those prison walls and didn't know if I would ever get out. And now I'm free. I'm free, and it's because of you. You made this moment possible. Can you feel that? Let that sink in. You did this. Thank you.
A great speech about freedom, decentralization, and unity. I felt the speech was like written for me, as it's all what I stand for. I know I can be a little bit insistent sometimes on decentralization. I know, you know, a lot of people say, okay, you stop talking about decentralization now, Cedric. We have stuff to do. We have business to build, stuff like that. No, but that's what we need. That's really what we need. And he said, Ross, he said that's really what we need. It's not just me, okay? I have someone with me now. And without a doubt, you know, yeah, it was the most emotionally tense and impactful speech at the Bitcoin 2025 conference. I've recorded everything. And I think I will watch it again, like 2-3 times. But you can really see here that the years in prison obviously did not make Ross dull. It obviously made him clear about what's important and what's not. So yeah, he was talking about not only Bitcoin, but also, you know, kind of a mindset, liberalism, explaining why we need decentralization. Why do we refuse to be defined? And why do we want to create a system that cannot be controlled? Anti-censorship, the basics, you know, of Bitcoin. Have you read the white paper? Many people may have forgotten, I think, the original intention of Bitcoin. But Ross still remembers it, and he lived all that. He can feel it, you know. So I liked his speech very much. I hope you can also give, you know, it can also give you some thoughts. We have to give it some thought. As Ross said, and I also think that there is still a lot of work to be done. So yeah, I hope I'm contributing to all that with my channels, but it was a great speech, and the analogies he did were pretty good too. Have a look at his speech. This year's Bitcoin 2025 conference ends here. We still have a party in the evening, so we will just go and relax and stuff like that. But yeah, those 3 days have been really busy. I didn't sleep much. I don't like to, you know, not sleep well, but I'm happy I came. This atmosphere, meeting old friends, making new ones like John Perkins. He is such a nice guy. I love him. And it's really a very happy thing to be able to talk with these people who are on the same frequency. All right, I will sort out the content of the past few days and share my thoughts again. You know, we will let that decant like good wine, and I'll share you the most important content with you in the next few days or few weeks. There's still so much to say about all what happened. Stay tuned. I hope you like this series of videos. Just think about all what we said those days. Merci et au revoir.